After the polling, the count, and the countdown to the results at the John Mackintosh Hall. It didn't take long for the first ballot box to arrive.
They've sealed it, they've had the presiding officers sign it and witness it, and the box, I think, as we speak, into the taxi and basically arriving at the John Mackintosh Hall.
And right after the first votes arrived, the first indication as to what it could all mean. GBC's exit poll brought apparently good news to the GSLP-Liberals.
10 GBC's exit poll is predicting that for the next 4 years, Gibraltar will be governed by the GSLP-Liberals. The GSLP-Liberals will win the 2015 general election according to the results of our exit poll. Let's take a look at the breakdown, and according to the breakdown, the GSLP-Liberals are on course for a landslide victory. They would win with 72% of the votes compared with 28% for the GSD. That is the prediction, the result of the exit poll. We've had agents at the 14 polling stations, and according to our poll, there it is projected on the John Mackintosh Hall front wall. The GSLP-Liberals would win the election with 72% of the vote. The GSD would obtain 28%. It's an amazing 44-point lead, according to the GBC exit poll.
Interesting in the GSLP-Liberals lineup is at the bottom, where we have Joe Bossano actually 9th. Joe Bossano, traditionally, of course, a former leader, the founder of the GSLP, always does very well. And here we have him 9th, and we can only speculate why that may be, but there have been certain occasions during the campaign, as I think many people are aware, where Mr. Bossano has been rather forthright in his expressions and in his views. Maybe that has affected his performance, if it's borne out in the real election. Chris White was bottom with 220. And then, surprisingly, the next one up, the one who, if you like, just makes the cut, according to the poll, is the chairman of the GSD, Trevor Hammond, who in our previous poll was second behind party leader Daniel Feetham. So rather surprising there.
Interesting.
We soon had reactions from the GSD and GSLP chairmen, Trevor Hammond and Pepe Baldacchino.
Well, I don't particularly have a view on the exit poll itself. Obviously, we'll wait till later this evening or the early hours of tomorrow morning to find out what the actual poll says. With respect to the LNG campaign, I think it was a very important, very necessary campaign to have. People needed to be informed. People needed to be informed in order to make an informed decision at this election. So it was one of the key battlegrounds, if you like, and that debate had to be had.
The poll that counts is when the civil servants finish counting here. In any case, if the poll is a true reflection of what's going to be their poll, then obviously for us it's gratifying, and we are very happy that that should be the case. But we have to wait until the count is finished.
Quick on the heels of the exit poll was the figure for just how many had taken part in the election itself.
A total of 16,475 people have voted. That's 16,475, and that represents a total of 70.77% of the electorate. They've just broken through the 70% barrier, and in fact I can tell you that that's the lowest turnout that there's been in a Gibraltar General Election since 1980.
Well, but you know, it's still 70%, nearly 71%. There's a lot of other countries all over Europe, around the world, which would kill for that type of statistic. So I think it shows that we have a very responsible electorate in Gibraltar.
And I'm given to understand as well that even though the percentage is lower, the turnout itself, because we have a larger electorate than we did last time round, is still relatively high.
It is very high. I think, off the top of my head, because I haven't really had a chance to study the figures, but I think we're talking that it's only about between 1,300 and 1,300 and 1,500 less than last time, which is still quite a big turnout.
Governor Alison Macmillan praised the efforts of all the civil servants working throughout the day and night.
I have been struck by how smoothly everything has been going, steady streams of people throughout the day, and also by the amount of hard work and planning that obviously goes into managing an election. Of course, credit, I think, must go to the people who have been working tirelessly. Paul Martinez and his team, all of the civil servants who've not only worked today, and some of whom have got a very long night ahead of them still.
The role social media had to play was highlighted by a member of the GSLP Liberal youth, Samuel Marache.
I think social media does, in today's society, play a huge role in not only getting to know the candidates, but also the campaign, because, for example, you have dedicated social media teams that are set up specifically for that purpose, to manage the social media aspect of the campaign.
Postal votes were counted, and after the verification process, the counting began. GBC got a glimpse inside. For one person, this election was notably different. For the first time in over 20 years, Sir Peter Caruana was just a voter, not a candidate.
For the first time in 25 years that I've not been a member of Parliament, that I've not been involved in elections. But, you know, I have in my own way extricated myself from 16 years in government and 25 years in politics. And I'm very pleased with the way it's gone. I mean, a little bit of me, of course, regrets that I'm out of it, but I'm out of it. And therefore what I'm doing is enjoying the other aspects of my life, which are also full of blessings and full of fun and full of pleasures. And I'm enjoying that too, hugely.
Unite's Victor Rocello gave us the reasoning behind the union's somewhat controversial endorsement of the GSLP Liberals, saying this happened after meeting with both sides.
Because we can't have a party coming into Unite and making a mockery out of the entire executive, Unite executive members.
Which the GSD did?
Absolutely, because in the way they came in and discussed our own items, you know, our own issues, and they were so much involved in it and promising, yes, we will achieve this, we will do this, we will do the other, and when they released their own manifesto, not even once Unite was mentioned, and none of the promises were delivered. So that was easy enough for us to, when we met the GSLP, and they had included most of our committed issues. No, they had included in the manifesto that made it even easier for us to support. However, although it might not be customary to do this, but you know, it was part of Unite's policy from the very beginning to say that once we arrived to that point, we would decide which was the best manifesto to offer, you know, for workers' benefit. And this is exactly what we did.
Former PDP leader Nick Cruz explained his endorsement of Albert Isola and the alliance.
So I think that on balance, if you make an assessment of what they've done over 4 years, they deserve a pat on the back and support for another 4 years. So I think the endorsement of Albert Isola was very particular, because I think he's done very, very well in the area that I work in. But if you ask me, would I extend that to the rest of them? Yes, I think the GSLP Liberals have shown that they've done a good job.
GSLP Liberal candidate and former Chief Minister Joe Bossano refused to be drawn on comments attributed to him regarding John Cortes, saying Gibraltar is a worse place if private conversations are to be recorded.
You are interviewing me about the election. You can interview me anytime in the year.
This is the campaign, Mr. Bossano. This is
the campaign
part
is
of
over.
the campaign. But it's only just finished.
It's only just finished, and I don't believe that an issue in this campaign of the people of Gibraltar deciding who should be in government has been determined by any of that. This is something that has been used by people to convert a decision in which the people of Gibraltar, the electorate of Gibraltar, deciding who governs them over the next 4 years, and say, well, look, the decision as to who should govern has to be determined by what Joe Bossano says or doesn't say, how he says it, where he says it, and what he thinks. I have made, in interviews with you before, comments about how, in my judgment, ministers are brainwashed into doing things, and the opposition has made a big song and dance about this. Well, look, we can have politics where what we think we don't say, or we say what we think. And if people don't like the way that I express myself. This is a democracy, and they stop voting for me.
Throughout the night, various GSLP-Liberal and GSD candidates have given their views, reactions and predictions.
I think democracy is an exercise which as many people as possible should take part in. For whatever reason, 30% of people have chosen not to. Disappointing. I suppose from a personal point of view, you'll be even more disappointed about the fact that according to our exit poll, which has been broadcast just a few minutes ago, you are one of the bottom three candidates, which, if that was reflected in the final result, would mean that you wouldn't gain a parliamentary seat. So disappointing for you so far?
There's not been a vote counted yet, Jonathan, has there? So we'll see what happens at the end of the night.
I think it's very difficult to win a political contest against an opponent that's been in power for 4 years. I think that is right. I don't think in political history that's ever been done, but it's been the challenge of us, the GSD, to present our policies in a mature way, to look at the real issues that have affected the public and present new ideas. And I think if you look at the GBC poll about the main issues, and we look at the main issues of the day, they have been quite clearly public finances, LNG, employment, education. And if you think about Fabian's response when the election was called, and I think it was put to him, don't you think that public finances and LNG will form an important part of this election? I think he actually brushed them aside as not being important. They'll probably stand to be corrected later on. But I think it just goes to show that the public really are in tune with those issues of the day. And I think it's really shown that we've driven the agenda, we've driven the issues, and we've really exposed them, I think, on public finances on LNG. And I think it has been a successful examination in this campaign.
For me, it's a question of, because I am very much of the left of politics, I feel that the left of politics should be in power forever and a day. It doesn't mean that I want a one-party state. We obviously need a good opposition, and that keeps us in tabs. I mean, having a good opposition is healthy for democracy, but not necessarily, I mean, in this case, you're going to get 7, whoever that is, 7 going in anyway. It doesn't matter. And it's not a question of, you know, having some other people trying to squeeze in or whatever. You're going to have 7 opposition members, whether it's us or them, and therefore it isn't good in that sense. And what I meant at the time that I wanted to get rid of them, well, look, I would like to encourage other people to be a strong opposition if they come in and present themselves, because it is healthy for democracy to have a strong opposition.
Well, I don't believe that exit poll at all. I saw how the way it was conducted, and I don't think you can give any credence to it whatsoever.
So how wrong do you think it is?
Completely.
So you think you still win tonight?
I think there's something to play for. I have been around the counting rooms. The patterns are interesting. There's a lot of split votes. I've seen about 5 blank votes in 100. So it's anybody's guess at the moment. Yeah?
What do you make of the number of undecided we've seen in the polls recently, and perhaps what we'll see emerge today in blank votes compared with the turnout as well, which is quite low at 70%?
Well, I think that analysis is something you're going to have to do after the event, once you've got all the blank votes in, and whether there's any correlation between your undecided and your original polls and your blank votes. It may be that the undecideds just generally didn't want to declare at the time of the polling.
It's looking like a 60-40 from where we're standing, and we're very happy to see that in the circumstances it doesn't seem like it's going to be a GSLP landslide. I think it's a healthy score considering the factors, which is that it's a first-term government going into their second term. Daniel Feetham has taken over from what people have considered as one of the greats, and he has clearly consolidated his position as leader. If we do this, if we do well in these circumstances, so I think you know, in the circumstances again, it's a healthy score from what we're looking at.
Yep. Well, I don't think that I can give you the reason why I would have come out last in the exit poll. Of course, if that were to be the case in the actual election, it would be disappointing for me, except that, of course, if you were to win the election, then that's what matters. If it is the case that I come out last, I really couldn't speculate as to the reason why. It could be that maybe because people thought that I was not going to stand. That could have been a factor, but there could have been many other factors. Many people thought that the way that I dealt with the way that I did my work was not satisfactory. But we'll have to see, of course, how the poll actually turns out in a few hours' time.
It's been a very interesting day. You know, for me personally, it's very different from being on the other side of the election normally for the last 3 elections. Working as a civil servant, so it's very different. I can honestly say that, you know, the day has just flown by. You know, I woke up this morning, took the kids to school, and it just, you know, before I knew it was time to come down to the Mac Hall. So it's been very exciting, and, you know, the result is better than what was predicted throughout the polls we've been seeing the last month.
With John Mackintosh Hall still buzzing and the count in full swing, there's just an hour or two before the moment we're all waiting for, the announcement of the outcome of Gibraltar's General Election 2015.